And we now move on to the second presentation and panel discussion on the topic that is close to the hearts of many people here, talent. How do we ensure that we have a good pipeline joining us? How do we inspire them? How do we groom future leaders for the maritime industry? Are there lessons that we can take away from adjacent sectors? To help us go deeper, may we now invite Ms. Low Peck Kem, CHRO and Advisor, Workforce Development, Public Service Division, to deliver her speech on the quest to build a future-ready maritime workforce, leadership in workforce development. Ms. Low, please, let's welcome her. Welcome, Ms. Low.
Hello, good morning. Well, I was told I can take off mask while I'm standing here. I'm very safe distance away from all of you. So I see that we are on half day today. So originally I thought, wow, graveyard shift, give us a slot just before lunch. So thank you for having me, and especially to CE and for inviting me into this platform. To qualify, I am actually very new to the maritime industry. So my industry, I came from the private sector, even though now I'm in the public service, and I used to be an engineer. So to qualify, in order to talk a bit more about talent, even though I'm in HR, I have to say I have to get my colleague and myself to do some research on the maritime industry. Otherwise, whatever I say may not be very relevant. So I think to qualify, maybe let me start off with a couple of little stories to get people a bit more energized. And since you all just had tea break, and I see that, with safe distancing, whether you finish or not finish up, I'm keeping up the box so that you have to mask up while you're at your tables. So, first story. I hope since it's the last day and the last hour or so, you all have a bit more relaxed. After all, it's Friday. Now, a turkey was looking at a tree, and the turkey was talking to himself and say, wow, I wish I could jump and fly up to the tree. And along came a crow, and the crow said, a cow just passed by and actually just laid some cow dung. Why don't you eat some of the cow dung? It will give you energy, then maybe you'll be able to fly up to the tree. So the turkey said, okay, I'll try. So the turkey pecked at the cow dung, and true to what the crow said, the turkey actually got enough energy to fly up to the first branch of the tree. Okay? And then the second day, the turkey ate some more of the cow dung and managed to fly up to the second branch of the tree. And after a week, the turkey was able to proudly perch on the top of the tree. So, what does it tell us? You need to continuously skills upgrading in order to go up. Okay? And along came a farmer. And the farmer saw this proud turkey perch on top of the tree. Quickly, he took out his rifle and shot the turkey, and then brought the turkey back. So what's the moral of the story? Bullshit may get you up there, but it may not keep you up there. So if you think whatever I'm saying is a lot of BS, so pardon me. I'm trying my best. So the second story, before I go into the real reason why I'm here to speak, is another BS story. So a crow was trying to fly south for the winter, but it was so tired that it actually fainted on the ground and was frozen. along came a cow and started to, dump the BS on the crow. So the crow was sad and was like, I'm dying, and then I got all this cow dung on me. Cow dung, by the way, is bullshit as well. But freshly laid cow dung is actually quite warm. So the bird started to defrost and was quite happily keeping warm. And while it was getting warm and nice under the cow dung, the bird started to sing. Okay, and then along came a cat. Couldn't quite smell the bird because of the cow dung smell was more overwhelming, but heard the singing, quickly dug up the cow dung, found the bird inside the cow dung, and ate the bird. So the moral of this story is, sometimes bullshit may not be a bad thing. Okay, it can save your life, but at times when you are in deep shit, learn to keep your mouth shut. So I will shut up after this. So my journey so far, I came from the private sector and used to be an engineer, went to HR, so have been in HP, Agilent, Avago and all that, mainly American MNCs, high-tech companies. And I've been in like 9 different companies, 10 different roles and all that. So I've been in and out of public service, worked in the Ministry of Manpower for about 5 years before I left to work in Geneva for a not-for-profit organization. And for the last 8 years, I've been with the Public Service Division as the Chief HR Officer for the Singapore Public Service. Okay. Reason why I'm telling you this, by the way, I'm also the 2-time elected President of the Singapore Human Resources Institute. So reason why I'm showing you this is not to brag about how old I am, but to tell you, some of the BS has a little bit of credibility. Because I've got quite diverse experience, not only in Singapore, not only in the public service, but also in private sector and in NGO organizations. But the main key point is, as you can see, I'm not quite a job hopper, but sometimes, even though you may not want to job hop, sometimes the company changes on you. So I think all of us have to try to make sure that we acquire the kind of future-ready skills in order for us to remain employable for the long run. Okay, so I think in Singapore especially, we focus not so much on lifelong employment, but more lifelong employability. Okay, so let's talk about, the 3 W's of future-ready organization. Okay, and when we talk about the 3 W's, it is the future of work, the future of the workplace, and the future of the workforce. And we all heard this morning about how the talent landscape have changed drastically in the recent 2 years, and really human resources or human capital plays an important role in partnering with unions, partnering with business leaders, and also partnering with our employees on how we want to build that future-ready organization. So in terms of the future of work, we really want to see how we can, work is work, but how do you leverage on technology, and how do you leverage on automation and digitization as enablers to help us enhance productivity and also to help us to redesign the work and work processes to be ready for the future. So if you look at places like McDonald's, okay, today, if you go to McDonald's, for example, the one in Funan, you just make your orders through a panel, and then you just go collect. Gone are the days where you have a whole counter of staff to take your orders and collect money and so on and so forth. Okay, so how we redesign the work is important, and I think similarly for like the maritime sector, for the healthcare sector, for example, we are very short of talent in terms of the nursing workforce, and how we redesign the nursing job to split it into the clinician part of nursing versus the care management part of nursing. And I think during the COVID period, we are able to kind of segue a lot of our aviation colleagues who, especially our national airlines, who are well known for the good service and also the care management, and provide them with some training so that we ease the load of the nurses and supplement them with some of this care management workforce that we have kind of made some conversion or trained them to do some of these things. So it is not just upskilling, but really fundamentally we also have to look at how do you redesign the work. In terms of the future of the workplace, I think COVID has taught us, the beauty and the marvels of hybrid work arrangements, but it is really beyond the physical infrastructure of the work environment, of having enough equipment or computers and all that. But it is really the kind of culture that you want to build in the workplace, okay, where you have a higher level of trust, so that when your officers or your employees are saying that, yeah, I'm working from home, you don't double guess and are you really working from home, or are you shopping in some shopping mall and instead of working? So in terms of workplace, we really want to see how do you enhance that employee experience through the desired future workplace, work culture that we want to encourage, so that it is safe, it is conducive, engaging, and inclusive. And finally, I think the most important thing, our workforce. Okay. I think there is a need to have really a strategic workforce plan on what are the kind of future skills that are needed, and what kind of different combinations can you afford in order to get a piece of work done. So in terms of hybrid, in terms of diversity of workforce, so earlier we talked about, how do we attract more women into the maritime industry, okay? And just now when I was looking around, I was thinking, well, tea break, in this audience, I think the ladies' toilet shouldn't be too crowded during tea break time, because there are just so few. But if it was a HR conference, I think the guys will say, well, I don't think there's going to be a queue in the washroom during tea break time. And sometimes it's just the kind of mix and the kind of work. And coming from, graduating as an engineer, when I was doing my engineering degree, my class of 40, only 3 women. So I found my husband during my undergraduate in engineering. So it's great for me. You say, gosh, I've got a lot of choices. Okay. So a lot of the engineering graduates end up going to the arts canteen for lunch and all that, because they tend to get more of the humanities and those doing. But I think inherently there are some preferences, but that doesn't mean that we should not do our long-term planning to look at what is it that we need and what does it take to attract the right level of diversity into the industry and into the workforce. Okay, so that means that you kind of need to do some strategic workforce plan. So like I said, I don't maritime industry is not one of my area of expertise, but this is where we do some homework and say, okay, what is it that the maritime industry is focusing on? And in terms of the workforce and the talent, we are really looking at the vision that was shared by MPA with us on the goals that they are hoping to achieve. So I'll focus a bit more on the work and skills, the jobs and skills, as well as how we can improve the manpower resilience by diversifying workforce, automating, and developing talents. So let me share a few strategies that we can consider. By no means is this the magic formula. So this is more of for you to take into consideration and for you to, because we're going to have a distinguished panel later to discuss in a bit more detail. So 4 strategies for consideration. First of all is really how do we enhance the value proposition and industry attractiveness of the maritime industry? And secondly, it's no point making it so attractive, but we do not succeed in communicating effectively and making clear on what that value proposition is. Okay, I used to work in Hewlett Packard. Hewlett Packard have a pretty good brand name, and when Hewlett Packard branch off to have one of the biggest divestitures of Agilent Technologies, so I was one of those who was with Hewlett Packard and decided to volunteer to say, okay, I'll go with this spin-off. Okay, so in Agilent Technologies, it is actually the test and measurement side of the business. So we were saying, who should have the name of Hewlett Packard? Okay, should it be, the computing side of the house, or should it be the spin-off, which is a test and measurement, which was actually what started HP 60 over years ago. So rather than fight over it, we decided that, HP computers and printers and all that are more consumer products that needs the name of Hewlett Packard more. Okay, the test and measurement, which actually started HP in the first place, in the garage, will have a new name and, have contests and all that. And we call that name Agilent Technologies. But we really wanted to still continue to have that branding of HP. So for the first 2 years, we actually had Agilent Technologies with the tagline, innovating the HP way. So in the same token, when we talk about the value proposition that we want to send out, okay, we have to make sure that this is clearly communicated of what that value proposition is. And the third strategy is really to invest in automation and developmental programs. Okay, so as we talk about, let's talk about lifelong employability and giving people adequate skills so that they are able to grow and continue to be energized and motivated in the industry. And the fourth strategy is really how do we diversify and develop the workforce based on their competencies. Okay, so a bit more on the first strategy. I think in terms of the employee value proposition and industry attractiveness to strengthen the local manpower pipelines, one thing I learned in the private sector, especially when we're trying to hire like IC design engineers, which may not even exist when in the universities when we first started this kind of work in the private sector. So I think it's important that when we start the value proposition by starting them young, fan their interest through like apprenticeship, traineeship, scholarships, and general education on the job and life in the maritime industry. So I was just talking with Kenneth and say, actually, the maritime industry is a bit understated and not so glamorous and not so sexy. And people only think one thing when they go out to sea and then don't see you for months before you come back, that kind of thing. But actually, without the maritime industry, who's going to deliver all our goods and products? And we're all starved to death and all that. So we need to kind of enhance and sell a bit more of that. And really build that local manpower pipelines. And you could do it through like employee referral programs. So one thing you could do is, get all of you to pay it forward through maybe mentorship programs and to be coaches to some of these new entrants. So I used to do recruitment talks in the universities and usually in the engineering, because in HP we usually hire engineers and all. And I used to say, even though I'm in HR now, I used to be an engineer and all that. But the idea is you can, with an engineering degree, is actually very versatile and you can move to other sectors because of the competencies that you have acquired. So we have to kind of walk the talk and pay it forward to groom the next generation of talent pool that we are looking for. Next strategy on communicating a clear employee value proposition. I think we need to be very clear of Maritime's EVP. Why Maritime? Why now? And what is the purpose? And why is the industry and the work so meaningful? Okay, and we need to also communicate clearly and start at the schools and assure the parents as well as students of the EVP of the maritime industry. Okay, when I went to work in Agilent Technologies, one of the things that of course I used to be a production manager, and one of the things that we built are LEDs. Okay, so when we tell the production operators and the engineers, they're not just building, cheap, a few cents LEDs of different colors and all that. What we sell to them is, and I used to do this to my children, LED lights uses very little energy and they hardly fail. Okay, if you have your old toys with a little LED light that bling, 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 the red color ones, it uses very little energy and hardly fail. So our vision was, if in this ballroom, if all the lights are LED lights, basically this hotel no need to own a ladder to try to change light bulb, because they hardly fail on you and it uses very little energy. So when we were driving, I would always tell my children, my children, Kevin and Ashley, they're all grown up now. You see the traffic lights, the red, green, last time used to be a bulb and then you get breakdown and all that. See, now it's all LEDs. This mummy's company that built one, no? So the kind of pride that we put into the next generation and also in our employees, that, I'm not just building a 2-cent product, and I'm actually building something that is more meaningful and more for the future. The third strategy, investing in the automation and developmental programs to really enhance and improve our productivity and upskill our locals. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to invest in the technology and invest in automation, and we only have so many people and there are only so few warm bodies. Okay, and while we say improve productivity, I think sometimes when we say use too much of do more with less, but we all only have 24 hours, okay? And we have to learn how to be smarter and how to use technology as enablers. And in order to do that, the best place to invest is to invest in our employees, in our talent pool. So adopt a 70-20-10, of 70% through more structured way of job rotation or on-the-job training, 20% of coaching, mentoring, and maybe 10% of training courses and all that. So I used to work with the union quite closely, and some during my private sector days, and then some companies and some CEOs will say, yeah, you can have all this training scheme, but if I train them and then they leave because they're more marketable, then how? So the answer is always, but if you don't train them and they don't perform and then they stay with you, how? Isn't that worse? So you would rather train them and develop them and hopefully they stay. If not, they are better skilled to go somewhere else. It's better for the employee, okay, rather than you don't train them and they stay with you and they're just drifting along with you, and which is not very productive. So the benefits to the organization really, you upskill your officers, you benefit from the new best practices and ideas, and you keep them engaged, and they are less likely to leave, and you actually enhance your employee value proposition. The last strategy, to diversify and develop workforce based on competencies. So I think as I walk up here, probably some of you are, this HR person, yeah. Until I say, yeah, I used to be an engineer, okay. You may form some, really an engineer. Doesn't look like it, she's not the typical square and all that. Anyway, we all bring different values and we all bring different skills and competencies with us, okay? And in any organizations, you want to make sure that you tap on the best and optimize on the skills and competencies of a very diverse pool of people. Okay. If you keep hiring the same, like myself, okay, then you end up, as you grow, you will not get enough diversity of ideas and suggestions and innovation in your organization. So I think in any organization, as we try to diversify and develop our workforce, make sure we recruit and develop and conduct any performance management and all that based on, what is it that you bring to the table? What gets you excited when you come to work? Okay, and look at the kind of competencies that they bring. And sometimes, you may bring in somebody who may not have exactly what you're looking for, but have the kind of attributes that can be developed further. Okay, and it complements the team that you have. And that may be even a better hire than hiring somebody for a like-for-like replacement. So resilience is actually a group competency, and it can be achieved when different people can bring in different values to the organization. So make sure that we look beyond how people are being dressed, their physical abilities, but look for the kind of competencies that they bring to the table that you can tap on, and as a team to complement the entire team, so that as an organization we can all succeed. So I will close with this last slide on guiding principles for future readiness. I will kind of summarize it in the first 6 alphabets. First of all, for us to be ready for the future, I think COVID has also taught us how important it is to make sure that our workforce is agile. Okay, as an organization, whether you're able to redeploy people to areas of need when there are areas of slack. Secondly, also make sure you tap on the benefits of trust and empowerment. Okay, I cannot emphasize enough how important trust is, because it's only with that level of trust are you able to get some of this, hybrid work arrangements and all that work. Thirdly, C, change management and care. Okay, with the VUCA environment, we are facing changes all the time. Even with the COVID situation, 1 week mask on, next week mask off, and all that. So we have to be on our toes. But as we build that kind of muscles to manage those change on a higher level of frequency, don't forget to exercise care for your employees, okay, at all times. D, there are some things that you don't have to do, don't do. And please do prioritize. Because like I said, resources are limited. We all only have 24 hours. So I also have a don't do philosophy. Sometimes you do because it's always been like this. And when I say, can we don't do this? Did anybody die, or did we commit any crime if we don't do this? And if the answer is no, then stop doing it. Okay, use your resources to do something better. And ESG, environment, social governance, which is ever so important in today's context. And finally, F, focus on employee and customer experience. Okay, so as we embark more on high tech, for example, and so on and so forth, to deliver our services and our products, and always remember, as you go high tech, please remember to continue to be high touch. You want to go high tech, yet high touch. Okay, so even I noticed that when SMS Chi was giving out certificate and all that, I was thinking, wow, so sad, no? Cannot shake hand. And you just have to come here, stand next to you and smile, and you just take photo. So technically, you can actually go high tech. Virtual, I just send it to you. right? But the very fact that they had to come here and the kind of pride that they get when people applaud, even though you do not have that physical touch, but I think as you go high tech, always remember, continue to go high touch. Okay, and focus on the kind of experience that you want for your employees as well as for your customers. With that, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Low. Thank you. We'd like to invite you back to your seat first. Thank you very much. Ms. Low will be joining us later on the panel. Thank you, Ms. Low.